People don't want me to say smash the subscribe button anymore. So, power bottom the subscribe button. Do that. Hit the likes. Leave some comments. And we would appreciate you working the algorithm. That's all. I'm just coming up with new ways to say it. People don't like me saying smash the subscribe button. Fine. I'll come up with other terms for booping the subscribe button. All right. We will.
You just click on it.
Now, what? Come on.
Chris and I say elbow drop.
See, I like that. If we can video game it, right? Hit the start button on. No, that's a different thing.
No.
Hit the question block. Be like Mario. Power up with the subscribe button. I don't know. We'll come up with different things.
I kind of like that.
Frank Reich has been named the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I feel like this is a perfect topic for Jeremy Markovich. NC Rabbit Hole newsletter. He can go back and dig up some old 1995 footage of Frank Reich if he wants to. He threw the first touchdown in Panthers history. Now he's the coach. What up, Jeremy?
Hey, how's it going?
I don't want to talk about the depressing newsletter you had today.
Okay, that's fine.
This guy who saved the world with a nuclear thing, right? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, he diffused 2 nuclear bombs that accidentally fell out of a plane that crashed over Goldsboro in 1961. That's all. That's all he did.
All right. First off,
whoa, 1961.
How does a nuke accidentally fall out of a plane?
What the heck was a nuke doing in a plane in 1961 anyway?
So if you have folks that know stuff about Goldsboro, it's right next to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And at the time, there was a bunch of B-52s based there, and they just were flying around with nukes on there just in case. And they were, just in case they had to turn around and go out and, fly to some target and drop them. They were just kind of always up in the air. And the reason why they fell out of this plane is because the plane fell out of the sky because the wing fell off. So 2 live nuclear weapons came tumbling out of a plane that was breaking apart in the sky. And one had a parachute that opened up, floated gently to the ground, came to rest under a tree. The second one did not have a parachute that opened up, and it slammed into the ground at 700 miles per hour. So one was easy to find, one was very hard to find.
So, How was the one that was? How was what made it difficult to find? Is it somebody picked it up and brought it home? They wanted to keep it as a souvenir. How does that work?
700 miles per hour means it was probably burrowed into the earth.
It kind of just burrowed into the ground.
Yeah, it's like what happens post Christmas. The way I keep my plastic Santa and reindeer on the roof is I have a 30-pound dumbbell that I kind of wedge in the back of the sleigh, and then when it's time to de-Christmify, I just drop that thing from the roof, 30-pound weight. It just goes straight into the flower bed, and I got to dig that thing out. So, yeah, I can imagine that's a little bit harder to find that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a golf ball plugging into the ground, if you're playing in January. It's not exactly easy to find.
So, how close were we to nuclear annihilation in Goldsboro?
Depends. On one of them, the one that was easy to find that was leaning up against a tree, that one a gentleman named Jack Ravel, he diffused that pretty quickly.
Okay,
that was his job.
Good.
The next one was very hard to find, and they were digging pieces out of the ground for 8 days before they actually found the blowy uppy part of the bomb. And when one of Jack Ravel's lieutenants came up to him, he says, "Sir, we found the arm safe switch. The switch that says, is this thing armed or is it not?" And Jack said, "Oh, good. He's like, "Not good. It's set to arm." So it was fairly close. I mean, it was not zero. So depending on who you ask, it could have gone off. If it had gone off, the theory was that one bomb would have set off both bombs, and these were astronomically larger than the bombs that were dropped during World War II. They would have caused much more in the way of destruction. I mean, you would have had giant swaths of eastern North Carolina that would have been uninhabitable. So a very close call and a very good job done by Jack Ravel, who did this and then flew back to Dayton, Ohio, and then literally could not talk about this with anybody except for folks in the military for 50 years.
I'm sorry, that's impossible.
For 50 years.
That's impossible. You telling me you're not at a cookout in Dayton in the summer and be like, "Hey, man, what have you been up to?" "Well, let me tell you about these 2 nukes I diffused and saved the eastern part of the country."
He did not. Like, so I talked to his widow, his wife, and she said, I said, like, he didn't tell you, and she's like, no. And it literally was, he got a phone call from an author one day that said, like, you know, hey, can you tell me what you did in Goldsboro in 1961? He's like, you're not supposed to talk about that. And the guy's like, no, it's been 50 years. This is all declassified. Okay. And the guy goes, oh, okay. He told him everything. And then after that, he gets on the phone. He turns to his wife. He's like, hey, I got some stuff to tell you about what I used to do back in the day. Let me tell you about something that happened in North Carolina one time. So yeah, it was.
And she's probably thinking, "What? Do you have a secret family?" No, wasn't that. I disarmed a nuke or two.
I just saved the world. No big deal. Secret family, just saved the world. That's all.
No big deal. No big deal.
Yeah.
Whew. Man, that's crazy. All right,
that's a lot.
That's a lot to unpack, man. That is a lot to unpack.
And there's still a piece down there too. They haven't found all of it. There's still a piece of the bomb that's under the ground. And the Air Force dug for like a few months. The problem is when you dig out there, you just hit the water table, so you just make a giant mess, and then the hole has to get wider, and it fills in with water, and they were just like, yeah, forget that. So they just gave up. So somewhere under the ground, about 10 miles outside of Goldsboro, in the field, there is a radioactive piece of bomb that they never found, but they said, I don't think it's hurting anything, so we're just going to leave it there, but please don't dig in this area.
And that was it. We run PSAs for that. Call was it?
Yeah, call 811.
Yeah, 811. Right before you dig.
Like, what's the paint color they use for nuclear armament that's in your yard?
At the risk of accusing you of being a nuclear scientist here, Jeremy, or maybe even being one myself, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if the bomb fell and hit the Earth at 700 miles per hour and it didn't go off, potentially that wasn't a winner.
Yeah. I mean, something went right. Even though something
for sure, it was lucky that it wasn't a winner. But I think that was the placebo. I think that was the dud.
That was the dud. That was the practice bomb.
Okay.
All right.
Jeremy. And again, in 61, while we're flying around willy-nilly,
hey, man.
while we're getting all fancy Dan, to quote Jim Rutherford, with nukes on a jet, I'm going to need to look into
Cold War, man.
What in the world?
Cold War. It's the 60s.
Yeah, no, but exactly. You don't just randomly fly around with the damn things.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen Red Dawn. There's weird things that happen.
No movie frightened me when I was a child quite like Red Dawn.
Yep.
That absolutely. All right, Jeremy, I got an assignment for you next time we talk. Okay. Andrew Schnitker had put us as this, now that we're getting close to the stadium series between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals, we're going to have siren sounders, obviously, for the 3 periods. And, he says, given the stadium that it's being played in right now, his top pick would be Phillip Rivers. So our assignment for you for next week, if you want to take up the challenge, who would be the most obscure person that could sound a siren at Carter Finley Stadium?
Whoever the Carters and Finleys are left.
Maybe that's the case. Some folks have suggested Ron Cherry for some of his great moments there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there probably is somebody in Raleigh named Carter Finley.
Oh, yeah.
The last name Finley, and the parents were like, you know what we got to do?
NC State football is so successful. Let me name you after their crappy stadium.
You know what we're going to do to try to get free tickets to the stadium? We're going to name our son Carter.
That's what we're going to do. That'll do it. All right, man. So we'll talk to you next week. It could get absurd. I suggested Roy Williams, honestly.
I have a suggestion. I do have a suggestion on that.
All right, we'll save it for next week. I will do that.
I'm going to put that away.
NC Rabbit Hole is the newsletter, highly entertaining. Even this crazy one about nukes in the eastern part of North Carolina. So, all right, we'll talk to you later, man.
All right, see y'all.